So Richard, we're here at NextGen Nordics in Stockholm, and one of the hottest topic in the market right now is confirmation of payee or verification of payee. So can you give me a bit of light on what role is Swift looking to play in the entire verification of accounts or validation of payments?
Great question, Anders. Thinking about Swift's history, for 50 years, the key role of what Swift's been doing is about bringing the community together. And we want to continue to play that role. So a key part of what we're looking at from a confirmation and verification of payee perspective is really about how we can bring communities together who are currently offering domestic services to support very specific use cases to enable interoperability between those markets. And a key part of that will be collaboration in terms of talking about how they're going to be able to bring these different schema together. And then from a community Swift solution perspective, how we can bring in easy plug-and-play solutions to allow as much reuse of existing capabilities that we've already delivered through things like pre-validation.
Why is this all important for cross-border payments?
All these domestic schemas that have used very specific codes to support their domestic ecosystems haven't allowed for a lot of expansion. But with the new EC regulation, with IBAN name check, there's actually an opportunity to upscale that existing capability, to be able to take those existing domestic ecosystems and schemas up to a global level. The key things that ultimately you're looking for is simple connectivity, multilateral models, avoiding the need to have disparate commercial and technical arrangements, and having something that is simple, plug and play, reusing what you've got, that will enable the global reach. And I believe that's an important part that we play from the community's perspective to bring that to life.
So from a bank's perspective, what are the important design criteria for banks when they are looking to implement verification of payee into the infrastructure, into their business, and also into their entire KYC AML business?
So when I think about the challenge for the banks, I always come back, put my old bank hat on. First thing is all about reuse. Is there really a need to bring in new infrastructure? Can I reuse what I've got? So one of the fundamental guiding principles for a lot of the things that we're doing is enabling community reuse. The member community is, very, very adamant about trying to leverage or extract as much value as they can out of their existing ecosystem. So I think that's going to be a key part. The other component that you mentioned about or one of the things that we're going to have to face into to successfully implement this is harmonization. So the harmonization of standards, the harmonization of things like API to align it to both EPC and other specifications across the globe is going to be key. Again, I think that's a critical role that Swift can play to mediate the conversations between the different financial institutions and domestic ecosystems to make sure that what we're implementing will work with those other jurisdictions. But then more importantly, underpinning all of this from a customer's perspective is ensuring that there's a consistency of experience for the customer, so that when a bank does implement it, myself as a consumer can expect the same service in country A versus country B.
So over and above name checking, what are other services or capabilities or insights could Swift provide the banks with?
At a baseline, name matching is going to be critical, because that's obviously a key mandate or key requirement, being able to have a degree of certainty. And we're seeing this in COP programs across the globe, that it's important that I have a degree of certainty of what I'm paying. But I think where there's an additional level of value, particularly when I think about the pre-validation service, is to be able to just not only meet the EC mandate on name checking and IBAN name checking, but actually expand that out into other use cases where we can expose historical information to give you a better degree of certainty. Actually, in one of the jurisdictions that we're working with at the moment, there's already been discussions about expanding name matching into other fraud mitigation approaches. And that is heavily reliant on looking at things like historical data, scam data, and information that may not necessarily be just tied to the financial institutions, but to the broader ecosystem that can add value to that kind of control and risk mitigation approach.